Could Jason Kidd and Giannis Antetokounmpo reunite in New York? The Knicks are sure hoping so. As they plan in pursuit of Jason Kidd, it could pivot towards a big move rumored afterwards. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we now have more insight on what the future of Jonathan Kaminga could be. It could end up with him staying in Golden State and the Raptors' plan on pursuing Kevin Durant. We're going to talk about all that, plus a little bit of the NBA Finals and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And I want to start off with this Jason Kidd rumors. Now, we heard that the New York Knicks had interest in Ime Udoka and Jason Kidd, and there was some doubt around if either team will allow them to interview, where it seems like while the Rockets very early on, it was when the rumor started, it was like, this is not going to happen. They aren't going to give that request in. The Mavs are always a question there, mainly because they changed the direction with that franchise. Yes, they're going younger. They moved off of Luka Doncic. They have the number one pick in the draft. Me as a coach, I would think about staying on and coaching what could be the next generational prospect in the NBA. But it seems like the New York Knicks do plan a pursuit of Dallas Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd, and they plan on doing that hard. They are expected to put in an official request to the Dallas Mavericks to interview him. No word yet on if that's going to be fulfilled or not. This comes from Mark Stein, who says this: the New York Knicks are expected to formally request permission to speak to Dallas Mavericks Jason Kidd about their coaching vacancy in the coming days, league sources say. That's going to be an interesting thing, because if he is, let's say that they do allow that interview to happen and he goes to interview for the New York Knicks, if they do want him, are they just going to let him out of his deal? Is it going to be a trade maybe? That's something that could be there. Yeah, it's possible, right? We've seen coaches trades before. They have happened in the past. So wouldn't it be something that is outside the realm of possibility or reality? And that just, it could send a ripple effect, right? And you know, we'll see what happens. And whether or not the Mavs decide once the Knicks officially put in that formal request, if they do approve that or not. But if they do, it's going to be them maybe getting more capital back for the New York Knicks. And after the Knicks just spent a bunch of draft picks on Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns, then to turn around in the offseason and spend money to trade for a coach would be an interesting part. But it may mean that they see their opportunity, right? The East is going to be looked at as wide open. Don't know how wide open it's actually going to be, but with Boston going to be missing Jason Tatum the majority of next season. It seems like everybody's kind of down on the Cavs, even though they were dominant throughout the regular season. I think they're still going to be that dominant team as long as they don't make some drastic move. But it's looked at as an opportunity, right? And Jason Kidd is a player that's led the Dallas Mavericks to the Western Conference Finals twice, right? Won NBA Finals as well in that time as the Mavs. He's done some really good things since being the coach of that team. You put him now with the team that has the talent that the New York Knicks do, and that clearly puts them in a place where they are looking to make some noise in the East. He just signed a multi-year contract extension with them in 2024, so he's still under contract and he's going to be there for a while. But the New York Knicks, they make their move and they're taking their shot to get Jason Kidd, and they've identified him as the guy that they want coaching their team. So be it. I have my questions and reservations about it, but so be it. Now, the other interesting part of this rumor, we talked a little bit about this on Locked On NBA, comes down to the fact that, if they do acquire Jason Kidd, does that mean they then pivot to like a Giannis Antetokounmpo? Right now, we've heard that, insiders are now starting to believe more so that Giannis is going to end up staying in Milwaukee. I do still think that's the most likely case and scenario. But we know that the Knicks aren't afraid to make big moves. Are they going to try to use Mikal Bridges as an expiring contract to try to go out there and get another player in here? Or are they expecting Jason Kidd to come in and work with what they have here and then make that move? Keep in mind, Jason Kidd, I believe, would have also coached Jalen Brunson. There would have been some overlap there. So, we'll see what happens there. But overall, if the Knicks decide to do this and you make a trade for a head coach, instead of going out and signing some of the candidates that are out there, reportedly, Mike Malone is not an option at all for New York, which I'm not going to lie to you, kind of surprises me. I like Mike Malone a lot as a head coach. I liked him here for the New York Knicks. I think what he's done with Jokic and with Jamal Murray, he can bring some of that over to use with Karl-Anthony. Not to say that Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson or Jamal Murray and Jokic, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's had to balance out using players before and playing from the inside out and coming up with complex schemes. And while Malone didn't go deep into his bench either, that was because of sometimes they didn't fill out that bench. But apparently the Knicks have their sights set right now on Jason Kidd. He could be somebody that they pivot to and look towards. And if that's the case, I mean, I hope that it works out for him. The Knicks are going to be an interesting team to watch out here for, because if they do decide to do something drastic, crazy, like make a move over one of their players, that's going to be that'll be kind of unexpected, right? I doubt the Knicks are going to be looking to blow it up. I have heard some talk in regards to like some teams that could be interested if they do decide to move Mikal Bridges. The OKC Thunder have been rumored as one, the Philadelphia 76ers, Detroit Pistons, the Houston Rockets, and the San Antonio Spurs have all been mentioned as teams that could be interested in making a move for Mikal Bridges if he is made available in the in trade. Now, I doubt that's going to happen, but if you look at it, for example, like the Spurs, they could offer a package built around Devin Vassell, which you still get some really good talent from Devin Vassell. He's not Mikal Bridges, but they may even be able to include some first, and the Knicks can recoup that. Now, I still think the most likely scenario is that the Knicks are going to try to run this back. You change your coach. To me, that says that you have belief in your roster. You're going to try to bring in a new coach that can change the mix up here and maybe develop players a little bit better as far as on that bench. But we'll see. Let me know what you guys think down below. With the Knicks zeroing in on Jason Kidd, do you think that that means that they're more apt to keep everything the same if they get Jason Kidd, or do you think another big move could come down the pipeline to try to make this roster a more clear fire contender? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, another player that's been a lot of speculation around in this offseason has been Jonathan Kuminga and what's going to happen with him. Reportedly the Bulls and some other teams were interested in Jonathan Kuminga. The Nets were a team that was interested there. Then we heard that the Nets do not plan on using and signing a player to an offer sheet. They plan on more so using their cap space to be the third team in the trade and gain more assets, which I think is really good. This one comes from Jeff Fisher, who says this: I have not heard of developing busy market for Jonathan Kaminga at the moment. It's still early, just like we said throughout the show. But there might be the most likely scenario right now, I think, is Jonathan Kuminga and Golden State needing each other. I think that's the scenario that makes sense. A short-term deal that gets him paid and keeps Golden State's optionality on the table. Now, this is an option here. Right now, signing trades, of course, are going to be an option. I do think with the Golden State Warriors being willing to facilitate a sign and trade, it opens up the door for more teams, and they don't have to have just regular cap space to get them. But with that said, if you feel like the market isn't there for you, you re-sign Jonathan Kuminga to a shorter term contract and you try to move him. That could be a thing that could happen here. Do I think that that's the likely thing? We shall see, right? We know that Draymond Green even told leadership with the Golden State in his exit meeting that Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a star, whether that's with Golden State or somewhere else, that he's going to be a star. And so that's the question that you have to have here, right? Kuminga is a player that is really interesting. The numbers show you that he can score 15.3 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 2.2 assists. He did that in 47 games in the 2024-25 season. His postseason looked pretty solid as well in the second round as well, where he averaged 20.8 points on 54% shooting and 42% shooting from three. The question is that he's trying to get paid, reportedly, and that's the question that you have to get there, right? Fisher also added in this. It would make a lot of sense for the Nets to try a pathway for a number that gives Jonathan Kuminga the money he wants, but isn't considered a potential overpay, where Kuminga could then be rehabilitable, his trade value, and then potentially be a piece that Brooklyn puts on the table to go out and make their next superstar trade, like the opposite end of the Kevin Durant being traded out. So it seems like there's still some options. Even Jake Fisher says here that there could be some options there. We'll see what happens. I think Kuminga is an interesting prospect here, mainly because a team that wants to take a shot. There's two different thought processes here, right? You could look at the Kuminga situation and say, well, he was a victim of circumstance in Golden State. He can be much better with given more opportunity. We think we have the system and the ability to develop him the way that he needs to be developed. Or you can look at it and say, well, if Golden State didn't work out for him and Steve Kerr couldn't get something out of him, what makes us think that we can? There's those two warring mindsets when it comes down to that. I think the where you come out on the other side of that is going to be the big important part. So we'll see what happens there. I don't think Jonathan Kuminga is like, there's going to be teams that are interested in that. I do think that the market there for him is going to be a really interesting thing to see how it develops. But if a team strikes out on their options, whether it be in free agency or their trade options, I can see them pivoting. I can see this Jonathan Kuminga thing going deep into free agency. He's maybe the second, maybe even third wave of free agency before that is ultimately determined. Even though he's a young player with some solid enough upside, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think down below on that one. Do you think that Jonathan Kuminga ends up returning to Golden State on a shorter-term deal, or do you think a team ends up giving him a contract offer and working out a signing trade with the Golden State Warriors? With that, Kevin Durant is apparently the Toronto Raptors. We know that they are open for business, right? They are looking to make a big splash trade. That's what was reported. A little shortly after that, we heard that Giannis was the one that they could focus on. This one also comes from Jake L. Fisher as well. He reports that the Raptors could realistically assemble a trade package for Durant as opposed to the type of outlay requirement to win a bidding war for Antetokounmpo. Now, we'll see what happens with that one, right? The Raptors did reportedly previously try to go after Kevin Durant during the 2022 trade deadline when he requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. That didn't even happen, of course. Then this past trade deadline where the Raptors acquired Brandon Ingram at the deadline and then immediately signed him to a contract extension. He still hasn't played for that team yet, but it seems like the Raptors are amongst the teams that are looking to be active this offseason with getting a big-name player in here. Now, they've made trades before. Sending away Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, right? Trying to build around Scotty Barnes. That's where they wanted to reset their roster at. Does this mean something different, right? Reportedly in the Giannis trade, they don't want to give up Scotty Barnes. Completely understand that. He's a guy that they've built up and developed. If you can add to that, right? Getting Kevin Durant here would be interesting for the Toronto Raptors because what does that mean next with your roster? What do you have to give up to get Kevin Durant? But the Raptors seem like they are open they want to make a big trade this offseason. They want to go for being a team that was not in the play-in to contending for a playoff spot next season. And how successful they'll be in that remains to be seen, but they do have a willingness to try to get a deal done. And to that, I got to give some respect to that. It's not sit stagnant. And that's what the Raptors did for a while. They had these interchangeable pieces that you understood like the thought process of what you're trying to do on paper there, but it never really worked out. Now they're trying to build something different. They're trying to go out and get a star level player. They feel like they've really invested the time and the development, the stuff into Scotty Barnes. What's going to come out of that? That's the question that remains to be seen here. And I guess we'll see how that all shakes out for the Toronto Raptors, but they are looking to get active in this offseason. We'll see if they can be successful. Before we go, though, right, let's talk about that NBA Finals. We've talked a lot about it on the Pacers end, right? And the Pacers, they continue to be a great storyline throughout this playoff run. They've had an amazing run. Tyrese Haliburton, so happy for a player like him to adamantly prove his doubters so wrong, right? And even though like players, or people like Stephen A. Smith still reluctant to call Tyrese Haliburton a star in this league, which I do think that this playoff run is proving that he could be one. The Thunder played themselves a pretty good game, right? They shot the ball terribly, which I think ultimately is the thing that did them in. Getting the turnovers, not making a lot of points off those turnovers, were all fine and dandy, but they did have a double-digit lead. So what adjustments do the Thunder have to make here in Game 2 to get themselves to not go down 0-2? Because you cannot go down 0-2 before going back to Indy. At least that's what I think that they would want to avoid. But what do they have to do? It's a few adjustments that they have to make. One, Chet Holmgren gotta be Chet. Like I don't know what that game was. I don't know if like him being out there without Isaiah Hartenstein made the big difference there, but they got to get together here. You look at the last two games of the Western Conference Finals, Holmgren scored 22 and 21 points, and he played 30-plus minutes. Game 1, he played, he struggled. He played 24 minutes. He only had 6 points, 1 block. That was not the Chet that we've used to seeing. Chet has to be a better player, and that offense that fell off from him, he got to find a way to rediscover that in Game 2, right? The offense overall of the OKC Thunder has to play much better, right? You saw them shoot 38% from the field, and one of the biggest weaknesses of the Thunder is they're not a great half-court team. They're just not. The Pacers are a better half-court team, and so if you force the Thunder to be a half-court offense, that's going to play into the strengths of the Indiana Pacers. The Thunder have to avoid that, or they just have to be better in the half-court, right? You let SGA cook, and that was kind of the game plan that we heard coming in. Let SGA get his, stop everything else around him. And the Pacers did that well enough, right? So, yes, you want to look at Shea, but you need other players. You need Jalen. You need Chet. You need these guys to step up when it comes down to it in that half court if you want a chance to win, because the Pacers are definitely going to try to play that to their advantage. And then when it comes down to it, you got to better capitalize on what you did. They forced 25 turnovers, right? And it seemed like for a team in the Pacers that just does not turn the ball over much, they seem like they solved that. But you only scored 11 points off those turnovers. You need to be better than that. And so that's the thing that you have to move here. This is going to be a game where Coach Daigneault has to really show out in this game. And if he does not, it's going to be ugly. So we'll see what he does here. We've seen this against the Nuggets when they lost game 1 in that game, and they came back. They lost that on game 1 or 2. They came back and absolutely killed them in game 2. They're going to need a big game today tomorrow to gain the momentum back and put it back in their corner. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making an episode. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.